Hello, welcome back to the Student Arts Network. Today we're going to talk about top 10 tips to succeed in pharmacy school. I'm joined by one of our student producers, Alana, to talk about this topic.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alana and I'm a final year student at Midwestern University at the Glendale, Arizona campus.
All right, without further ado, let's get this started.
Hi, so for our first tip, it is to have an outlet to avoid burnout. If you have a pre-existing hobby, like if you're interested in music or arts and crafts or something very contrasting or different from pharmacy, that's usually a good place to start. And then try to implement that at least once a week. Or if you don't necessarily have a hobby, if you want to pick up cooking, or I mean, in general, it's good to exercise. That can also be a good outlet. Or try to make plans with friends at least once a week, something of that nature, just to give yourself a mental break. It'll help you reset and get back into the information, and you'll probably absorb a lot better, to be honest.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Even in an undergrad career, you definitely need to have allocate time for yourself to break. I think it's the most important point is that to actually get out of the pharmacy thinking or realm. So just to refresh your mind and like being able to be personal, right? I like to hang out with my friends and maybe sometimes play video games with them when I have time as well. And I think also this point is very much emphasized by some pharmacy schools where some schools provide like a self-care class in probably like the first couple quarters or semester. And they really get to introduce you to the importance of self-care and things that you should do to avoid burnout when you're in pharmacy school or other graduate programs as well. So our second point today is to touch base with your professors. It is important to remember you are here not only looking for a degree, but also a network. You are paying to get the best service from your school. So I think it is important if you have any knowledge in questions or any career guidance questions, they're all important to your journey as a pharmacist. And it's important to have someone to guide you through this process and make sure you're on your right steps towards your career goal, right? I would say that most professors care about your well-being and career development, and they're mostly open to chat, meeting, or even meet them out in a non-professional setting. Also would like to emphasize if your school provides some sort of mentorship between a faculty and a student, I think again it's important to you for you to build that relation and to see what you want to do. And just if there's any questions, I think they're there for help you. Any things to add on?
I agree with everything you said. And just to add on, sometimes you might not be thinking about it actively at the time, but if you're interested in residency or fellowship or even just in applying for jobs, you will need letters of recommendation. And if for some reason you don't manage to have work hours alongside your school hours, your professors might be the ones that you'll need to ask for those letters of recommendation. And then also in general, you do need at least one when you're filling out those applications for residency and fellowship. So for our third tip, it is to make a schedule. I would say starting a new quarter or semester, however your school is scheduled, if you get a syllabus, it's good to kind of get a monthly calendar or a yearly calendar and start putting out those big deadlines down, like whenever you have a test or an exam or a presentation or project, things of that nature. That's kind of the big picture sort of scheduling. What I also like to do is every week, maybe the weekend before, I would like to kind of schedule out my studying as well and just general schedule for those outlets and making sure I kind of have a well-rounded, balanced life and schedule and am the most prepared as possible for those big things such as presentations and exams.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Even during like my undergrad um time, it's important for me to schedule everything or even schedule a time for yourself to take a break, relating back to our first point, right? To take some time for your personal well-being. Our fourth point today is going to be studying a little bit every day. I think I can't emphasize more how cramping basically will take away all the knowledge you're supposed to learn, especially you currently as a student pharmacist. you need to actually memorize most of these contents throughout your entire career and continue to learning along the way as well. So just by studying a little bit every day, you will have a better memory of the content you have learned for that particular week or day. And it works better in terms of applying the knowledge as well. Um, Alana, any particular studying tips that you have?
Even before you're kind of sitting down with the mindset of, oh, I have an exam this day and I need to start studying for it, if you have the time and the capability, having as many kind of refreshes or reviews of the topic will benefit you in the end. So even before a lecture, if the slides are posted, maybe read through it once. You might not understand everything, but at least you kind of have glanced at it before the teacher goes over it. It kind of gives you a background and kind of allows you to formulate questions ahead of time. After the lecture, also maybe see if you can have time to kind of review it right after. So they've just explained it. Now you're kind of seeing it with a different view from the first time you saw it. And so by the time you're sitting down to actually study, you've already been presented with the information 3 times, and you might know more than you think when you're already sitting down to study. Our fifth tip is to join organizations and be active in your pharmacy school career. This will be most beneficial to you as a lot of jobs, residencies, fellowships don't just want good grades, and they might not even be focusing on that in general. They kind of want to see how you function as a whole human being and as a whole professional. So it's better to be as well rounded as possible, including joining organizations. And by this, I don't mean spread yourself too thin and join a bunch of organizations and solely being a member. It looks better if you pick a few and are really devoted to it. If you don't happen to be elected in a leadership position, that's still okay as long as you are an active member and attend as many events as possible, offer your help as much as possible, and seem passionate about that organization and what it is for.
Yeah, I think talking about having leadership positions, I think it works well with your resume, your CV, showing that you are a leader in pharmacy and you're willing to continue doing that uh in the future as well. Uh and since there are so many, I think different leadership positions, especially in national base orgs that have their local student chapters, right? I think it is important to recognize that you are here to represent pharmacy now as a pharmacy student when you're able to go to all these different conferences or meetings or events that help you expand your horizon, and also it serves as a great networking opportunity as well when you're in these organizations. So yeah, I think it is important to join organizations and really get to explore um, what you want to do. Our sixth point is relating back to our previous point, is to find ways to network. I think again, in pharmacy school you have different opportunities to attend different conferences and events where you'll be able to meet tens of thousands of pharmacists who are may have a big influence in terms of the field in general from all around the nation. And from here you have the real chance to get to talk to these representatives or pharmacists and talk about their experience and give you some of their story and their guidance towards you in terms of imagining what kind of pharmacist do you want to become, right? So I think in these conferences, you don't want to just be in the back seat grabbing some food, just sitting at the back talking to your cohorts and stuff. This is your opportunity to able to reach out to these guests and people who will help you along the way. So it is important to express yourself um, during these opportunities. Maybe if you have a research project, you'll be able to talk to someone who's have such similar interests and maybe get you connected with some other people in the field as well. Or if you have like a rotation experience that you're particularly interested in, let's just say you really enjoy your acute care rotation, right? It is important for you to continue to build that connection and talk about it with someone who maybe works in a hospital setting. One additional tip that I would like to provide is to make a sheet of your own network. For me, I usually put down the name of the person, their email or slash their contact, and what their position is, so that if in anything I need to reach out to them in the future, I will be able to again talk to them and get to have a chat with them again if I ever need them. And maybe sometimes it's like, oh, I'm a little bit of an introvert. I'm a little bit shy on like big settings with so many people. I think it is important you can practice your skills, your interpersonal skills in the mirror or even in front of your friends, right? So you can easily find some casual topics to talk about first and flow from there. Maybe just talk about like a sports event, some sort of big news around the world right now. It doesn't need to be pharmacy related as long as it's like a conversation opener. I think it will definitely help you in terms of doing the networking, right? And if you have any other troubles, I say that there are lots of workshops around, even if it's hosted like by a particular school or not, it will help you do train these interpersonal skills and help you moving forward. Anything to add on?
Other than just networking within like that large conference setting that you're talking about, even kind of making friends and networking with peers or people in the grade above you or years above you and things of that nature will definitely be a benefit because you don't know where all of you will end up and maybe one day that connection will help you in the future. Networking does also include talking to your professors. Networking also includes building that relationship with your preceptors, and just always keep in mind that pharmacy is a small world. So any impression you make can lead you to opportunities in the future. Our next tip is to always try to say yes within your means. By this, I don't mean literally join every single organization that exists in your school or spreading yourself too thin. Always make sure that you can handle what you already have in your schedule before you say yes. That's kind of what I mean by within your means. You don't want to start having your grades go down or having other your outlets go down or things of that nature. Definitely you want to be living a well-rounded lifestyle, but definitely if there are unique opportunities and you have the means and the time and ability to do so, try to say yes because it gives you something to add to your CV, but it also gives you a worthwhile experience and might help you decide what you want to do in the future. And this doesn't just pertain to organizations, but if maybe there's a school-wide event or a community service event or something like that.
Yeah, and I completely agree, right? Um, Going back to what you talk about within your means, I think I couldn't emphasize more making sure you're able to take care of your needs and prioritize yourself first. Don't overcommit to loss of leadership that ultimately may hinder your overall well-being or even your grades where you might be struggling to understand a particular concept or anything. So I think it is better to do well in one thing than to do minimal in lots of things. So I think that's the way to go.
For point eight, we've talked about it before, but attending conferences can be really beneficial for yourself. Not only can you connect with peers all over the nation, which gives you a network base, it allows you to meet pharmacists all over the nation, as well as even see your professors and people that you might know in your school setting in a professional setting. Definitely do your part to be able to be as active as possible while you're there. Your professors might have lectures, or there might be open lectures that aren't CEs or things you need to pay for, in which you can kind of learn about new drugs or new concepts or new things that are actively happening in the pharmacy world right now by participating in different competitions like the clinical skills competition with ASHP or the counseling competition with APHA. And if you do well in your local competitions, you can compete at the national level at these conferences. Another thing you can do is if you're interested in policy and pharmacy advocacy, if you want to be a delegate within APHA or ASHP, there's typically delegates that participate in the conference and they talk about pharmacy issues that are currently going on right now and kind of discuss how we want to change and progress within our profession. And these are great opportunities to be able to participate as much as you can as a student in these conferences, even before you're a professional.
Point number nine. Uh, Again, similar with what we talked about, touching base with your professors, making sure a good relations with your preceptors are also very important. They are the real world teachers here. They are here for you to get to understand the real world practice of pharmacy instead of going through just the books of what pharmacy is about, right? They allow you to make close connections if you're well prepared during your rotations and get to have the opportunity even get a job in the future as well. So definitely keep in touch with them after your rotations and making sure that you have a close connections with them moving forward.
So I feel like your preceptors might be one of the most important connections that you make in your pharmacy school experience, as they're the ones who are working in the field and only working in the field and are doing like a whole different sorts of things in the field. So you definitely want to connect with them and make the most out of your experience, because this is your kind of only time period in your life where you'll be able to kind of get these snippets of different kinds of pharmacy all in 1 year and shortened span of time. Um, and these are the people that will probably be the ones mostly writing your letters of recommendation, especially if you are applying to residency or fellowship and need that clinical preceptor to explain how you are in an actual clinical setting and in practice, because that's very different environment from studying in school.
Our last point for today is if you're interested in residency or fellowship, prepare early. Again, we'll in the future produce a video on more info about how the residency or fellowship process is. And we're going to obviously talk about a little bit of application and things you need to do for interview prep. Alana, do you have anything you have experience with or things that little tips that you have in terms of if someone who's interested in applying for residency or fellowship?
Some things to keep in mind is fellowship, for example, the applications are open a lot earlier than residency. So you need to keep that in mind kind of going into those applications. There also isn't a database for them in the same way that there is for residency. So you definitely need to start kind of looking ahead of time to see what companies and what schools are offering those fellowships, because it's a little more difficult and you need to kind of research yourself rather than it being in one database and kind of seeing all the opportunities there. And then in terms of residency, despite your or mid-year being in early December, a lot of applications are already due in late December or early January. Even if mid-year is when you're going to decide which schools you're actually wanting to apply to or what you're most interested in, definitely try to open your forecast early, because it's typically open a month or two before mid-year. So you can kind of start inputting your personal information at the very least and kind of have your CV ready, so that can also already be uploaded. And then in general, for your letter of intent, you can kind of already hit the bullet points of your professional goals, um, things about yourself that you want that or residencies to know in general. And then you can kind of have a skeleton that will make it easier for you to write those once that deadline is already approaching. Because after mid-year, you pretty much only have a couple of weeks. And with the holidays and everything, it can be difficult to manage time wise.
So that's it will be our top 10 tips to succeed in pharmacy school. I hope you found this content enjoyable and get to know what two people's thoughts on, in terms of what you can do to excel your career within pharmacy school. Drop a like if you like the video, click share if you would like to share this video to your friends and cohorts that they might be finding helpful, and click subscribe to keep up with the content from our production from the Student RX Network. See you next time. Bye bye.